Oh, wait, where did I put my lucky rabbit's foot? Um, so my name is Prudence. You can call me Prue. I run Prudent Readings, which is a tarot and astrology company. And we've been doing a podcast called The Lucky Rabbit Talk Show. Our first episode, we didn't have a guest, it was just us. But we're really lucky today because we have Lisa Reinhart, who runs North Star Energy Healing, right? That's the
Yes.
which is a spiritual company also. She's extremely experienced and one of the most knowledgeable people I know, honestly. And so I cannot wait. Hopefully, she becomes a regular guest. Do you have anything you want to say to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lisa Reinhardt, as Prue said, and I have North Star Energy Healing, which mostly I do tarot readings on my YouTube channel, which is North Star Energy Healing. But I'm also certified in Beyond Quantum Hypnosis and Quantum Reiki Healing and a few other things. But mostly what I do right now is tarot readings on YouTube and sometimes in person.
And
Super
So
impressive.
that's me.
the quantum hypnosis.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
It's one of the coolest things I've heard of someone doing.
Yeah.
I met a woman yesterday at a metaphysical shop, and I meant to ask you about this before, but she does soul alchemy.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of that?
Does it have something to do with the pieces of your soul and bringing them all back
I think
in?
she mentioned it was like those
Bringing them all
chakras.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
bringing all of the energy to the heart chakra. That way you radiate your best self. I thought it was really interesting.
that is really, yeah.
She made some cool stuff. Her Instagram is oh, what was it? Witch
Which,
Med
yeah, which med, like
Med Witch.
which M dot E dot D.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna see. I added her on Instagram. We'll see if she wants to do an interview too. I'm like trying to figure out how willing people in Canada will be to like be interviewed, but I think it's a really cool idea to see the differences in practices like up here, down there. Everyone does such different stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have heard of us having soul fractals that need to be pulled back together. When I had an introspective hypnosis session in North Carolina back in, I think it was 2018, Antonio Sangio specializes in things in this particular life that have caused our soul to fractile. Like if we had a traumatic experience,
Right.
then a fractal of our soul gets left in that experience.
Yeah.
And then you bring those fractals back together to make your soul whole again. So I've heard of that.
That
Um,
makes sense too, that she would focus on the heart chakra, bringing that together. Because
yeah.
chakra work is kind of interesting. I don't know that I would ever do like Reiki with other people, but I feel like I practice like a little bit of Reiki with myself. I left my crystals in South Portland, and there was this moment of like, come with
Oh,
me, but
yeah.
also I can't just bring a box of rocks around.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this room that I'm in is full of crystals and I just love the energy of them and I have like a crystal grid under my bed that has selenite at every corner.
You have a lot of
Selenite being
selenite,
the
I've noticed, on your
yeah.
desk too.
Yes, I have a lot of selenite and I meditate with, I'll hold on to selenite is connection to angels. It also amplifies any other crystal. So you can set a crystal on selenite. I have this huge piece. So,
Oh, and
um,
that's that nice selenite too. I can't remember what it's called, like mirror or spectrum or
I don't know. I'm not that familiar. I have three crystal books and I've taken a class on it, but if you don't use it every day, you kind of don't remember. So,
yeah.
but a selenite is really powerful. When I meditate with selenite, my hands don't feel like they're attached to my body. And the same thing happens when I have a Reiki session or a healing session with someone. I'll bring my selenite and I hold on to it, and I can tell uh, how good they are. How should I say how experienced they are, how connected they are, because I'll get that same sensation in my hands. My
Right, the
hands will be
vibration.
like apart from my body when they're really in flow and really working on me and really connected. So it's that's how it is for me. I'm not saying it would be like that for everyone. You can certain people might like tiger's eye or amethyst, or but whatever it is that you're connected with. I think crystals have a huge, um, deep history with the earth. So when you find one that you're really connected with, it can help you in your own modalities, whatever they may be, Reiki or tarot or oracle, healing, anything.
100%. Yeah, I usually gravitate towards jewelry that's stones. And
Yeah,
I was able to leave all of those other stones behind because I brought all of my jewelry, and my
yeah,
jewelry is a lot of little stones. I worked at a jewelry counter for a long time, which is at TJ Maxx, which is where I learned a lot of the stones.
yeah,
I know some
yeah.
stones that I really resonate with that are like harder to find are have you ever heard of Super Seven?
No.
It's this really beautiful kind of purple red stone, and it is included. I think there's like amethyst.
Hmm.
It's a combined kind of composite of seven stones, and it's supposed to
Wow.
be one of the one of the more powerful ones. Also, Moldavite. Moldavite does what you were saying to me. I had a Moldavite ring, and I swear it was palpable.
Yeah. So I was just going to say the one stone that I really want is Moldavite, but you have to be really careful. Oh my God, my body is all tingly when I talk about it. You have to be really careful with Moldavite because it is a super connector. And, probably if you gave Moldavite to a person who doesn't have good intentions, it would hurt them. Like they would
Yeah,
feel pain.
good, good point. Yeah, because it really draws a lot into your life, like synchronistically. So
Hmm.
it's gonna draw what you're bringing in. I remember
Yeah.
when I started wearing it, it was like people would show up. Not so much numbers. I'm so dyslexic. I only have one number I really relate to, and it pops up all the time. Um, but yeah, no, the synchronicities were real, and it's so hard to find genuine Moldavite. So
Right.
there was a meteorite that hit Czechoslovakia, I think a couple 10 or 20,000. I would have to look up how many years ago, but there's a finite amount of it because when that meteorite hit the earth, it created this stone, and people love to make fake Moldavite.
Yeah.
The first Moldavite I bought, I mean, the second I felt it, you can feel a fake gemstone. It's not cold, it's not,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, stones are, I mean, I have every kind of, I'm even, this is, it's like a rock with some quartz. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see it, but I love stuff like that. A rock is interesting to me. I
This
have like, this is just a rock, but it's like pinkish.
Yeah,
It's like quartz, but I love it. I just,
if you walk
and
on the
Jeff,
beach, you can find so many stones. Once you start really looking, oh, that's gorgeous.
so this was the first gift that Jeff, my husband now, ever gave me. And it's this huge piece of amethyst, but it's not in its full amethyst form. It's like because it's still like quartz or whatever at the
Yeah,
bottom, and then it's amethyst at the
Yeah,
top.
it's
I
like
just love
attached to
that.
a quartz.
I
And then when we were on vacation, I found this mini one that's almost exactly, look at that.
Let's look a little. What do they say? It's a
Oh,
sister, not a twin.
Yes, look, and so I found that and I was like, anyway,
I have
so crystals are big. Yes, I love crystals. I'm really into numbers, and stuff like that.
numerology. You really, right off the top of your head, you're able to pull a lot of numerology, and it's admirable for sure.
Well, how I learned, go ahead, you were going to say something.
Oh, I just realized the other day that I had this in my pocket, and it was something one gemstone that I really wanted to bring with me. It's hard to see, but
Yeah,
it's
what
a
is it?
root. Ooh, then it breaks, right? It's a little rutilated quartz with hematite inclusion.
Love
And
it.
I remember seeing it on Etsy attached to a ring, and I was like, that is one of the coolest gemstones ever with the inclusions. It has broken a little bit. I don't think it was then, but it was not. foot well on the ring, so it broke off.
Yeah.
I was like, I still need to keep the stone.
Yeah,
And
for
I found it
sure.
in my coat pocket the other day walking around, and I was like, at least I brought one.
It was meant to be there with you.
Sliced in half.
So the numbers thing, how I learned it, funny enough, when so when I really started getting serious about reading tarot was when I finally got a deck that I resonated with. And I'll tell you a few of the things that led up to that. But the deck that really resonated with me is the Gilded Tarot. That's the one that I use mostly on my channel. So before I started using that deck, I actually read this book cover to cover. I read the introduction. I already knew about tarot, but I was really curious to know about it. And in here, it tells you about what the numbers mean. So as I was going through it, you just memorize. I don't know. I just, memorized it, I guess.
Yeah,
And so
almost like
that's kind of
mnemonic.
how, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 don't worry. I can see that though. It's almost like mnemonic where it's like helps you remember each one because then you can go back to the number and get a base
Hmm.
feel for it.
Yeah.
I've always
And
wondered.
I did, I've read a book about numerology. It was a really thick book, and it was about how you write your name out, and then each letter of your name represents a number, and then you add those up, and then you divide it by something else. And it was very confusing, and I never finished. In fact, I saw it this morning when I was looking at my bookcase because I wanted to find the book that started this whole journey so I could show everybody. And I was like, man, yeah, I remember that book. It was too confused. It was too much. I couldn't grasp it. So, you know, that's when you know that's not your thing. Like
Hmm.
the minimal numerology that I know is good enough for what I do. And trying to force learning something if it doesn't resonate with your soul, it's not what you should be doing. And I had to learn that through different things that I've done.
Yeah.
Um, I started out with a certain a tarot deck that someone gave me, and you have it now because I gave it to you.
Oh,
Remember
the
that Rome
Roaring
rig?
one. Oh, I
Yeah.
love
So
that one.
yeah, that the artwork on that is amazing. But I had that, and I just did not get anything from it. I would try to read. I just didn't feel anything. So then I was like, well, let me back up a minute. A bunch of readers and psychics and mediums that I've been to, and I've been to a lot, and I have all my notes, kept telling me, you're a tarot reader. You're a tarot reader. You can read tarot. And so, but what I didn't realize is that you really have to have a deck that you're connected with. So I kept trying, buying different decks, and I'm like, "Oh, I just don't feel anything. I don't feel anything." So then I was watching a reader on YouTube about 2 years ago, I think now, and she was using the Gilded Tarot, the one that I just showed you the book. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I love the artwork on that deck. I need to find that deck." So I got that deck, and it was just like boom. I don't know. It just I
Yeah.
was connected, and I was like, "Okay, this is what it feels like." So anyway, I forgot. See, this is what I was afraid of. I get off topic. But so that deck is what really opened it up. I had tried with several other decks because I was like, well, these people are like psychics and mediums that are telling me this, so they can't all be wrong.
Yeah.
But it was just getting that right connection.
That
So
was a lot like mine. I went down, I was starting to feel like I was like, nobody's gonna validate this for me, right? You can't just look up to your friends or your family. A lot of them are usually gonna be
yeah,
like, oh, I know you too well. You can't do that. And so I
yeah,
went to see a reader and she was like, first of all, you can do mediumship. And I was like, well, that's something you gotta like train for, move towards. I would want to be way more accurate. And she was like, well, then just read tarot because you're good enough at it and it'll get you there. You'll slowly be able to build that connection with everything.
yeah.
And I listened to Alison Dubois' podcast, and she always says, find a group of readers. If you want to find out if you have it, find a group of readers, read with them, and you'll know really quickly whether you can do this or not.
Yeah.
And so I was working at the grocery store. I used to work with Jen at the ceramic studio or work for Jen at the ceramic studio and left that job. It was not a good fit. Both of us agree it was almost like I had to move on. It was never going to work out. Um,
Mm.
so I was like, well, I don't know. I feel like I should go ask her. She's one of the only readers I really am close with, but we haven't talked since I quit. And I walked into the studio after that reading, and she said, "Oh, this weekend we're having our first meeting of a bunch of mediums and tarot readers. And also, I have a job for you." And that's when I started hosting those parties all at once on in five
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah,
And I
I
was just
remember this
like,
very vividly.
yeah, I was like, wow, Jen, what? I was like, you're drawn to who you're drawn to at the right time, truly,
At
to
the
be
time,
able to
Yeah.
figure things out.
So Jen, who she's talking about, Jen is a medium. She's a psychic medium, and she has this ceramic studio, and that's where Prue and I met, was at this tarot practice and study type group meeting. And so obviously you had that job so that you could be connected with her, and that opened things up. That's just the way the universe works, like brings you to that person. The job wasn't right, but the future was meeting her, getting that going. But that night, I remember you came in a little bit late, I think. I had already started. I was back in the corner. I had never done anything like this before, but my friend Wendy, I think she was connected with Jen on Facebook or something. My friend Wendy told me about the group and said, "Is this something you'd want to do?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great." So so I went, and I remember I went, and there were just like people walking around, and I went, and I had a bag, and I had crystals in it, and I had a
Yes,
tablecloth,
you
and I
had
had
a
all these
whole
decks, and
station set
I
up.
had I had my little North Star energy, my little sign, and I was sitting there, and then I looked, and a lot, because I at that point I already had my YouTube channel, but I had maybe 20 followers or something. And so then I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, these people are going to think that I'm so full of myself because I did this, but I didn't know what to expect. And as it turned out, everybody was super nice, really friendly. We traded off giving readings, getting readings. And so at the end of it, when we were all in the room, Prue was sitting like behind me, and somebody was talking, and I turned around and saw her, and I was like, instantly, I need to know this person. It was
Yeah.
just so weird. It was like a feeling. So the next time that we were going to meet the following month, I was asking Jen, is Prue going to be here? Is Prue going to be here? And at this point, we did not know each other.
Yeah. Well, she texted me and said that, and I almost forgot because it was the first Sunday every month or something.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that.
it just completely slipped by me. So if you hadn't done that, I would have missed that second meeting, and those meetings fizzled out so quickly. God bless
Yeah,
all of us and the people who were coming, but those
yeah,
meetings were clearly just like a three-session moment for all three of us to bond and share experiences, and then
yeah,
we were all too busy. We
yeah.
all really,
It was great because, we met, and we've stayed in touch, and we've had Zoom calls, and and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful for the group because, of meeting Jen and meeting you, and getting to practice a little bit with live people, because when I started doing this tarot journey, I live out in the sticks. Like, there's literally no one around. And I did read for a couple friends and some family members, but I hadn't really done one-to-one with people I don't know. So that group really helped me to understand that, oh, I can do this. Like, it's
yeah,
so hard for people like us that do this, because sometimes you're reading for somebody and they don't say anything. So you're sitting there going, is this making
is it
any
resonating?
sense?
Are
Or,
you feeling any?
yeah, well,
Yes.
like, give me some feedback. And then for me, when I'm doing it on YouTube, I get nothing unless somebody puts comments in, which I thank you, because usually when you see something that resonates, you give me a comment, and I'm so grateful for that. And a few people do. Now, me being a Sagittarius Leo rising talker, every person I watch on YouTube, if that video resonates, I'm going to tell them, because
Yeah,
I know how
exactly.
much it means to get a comment,
And
but
it the
It's
effort that people put into it is so much bigger
yeah,
than a lot of the payout until you get that traction. I
right.
definitely these astrology forecasts, I'm trying not to get like frustrated with them, but they're getting like 200 views and 3 likes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then one
Oh
like.
my God. I know. People are stingy with hitting the like button,
It's,
right? People,
it's
you need to
so
hit the like
funny.
button. If I go and watch a reader that I like, I'll hit the like button immediately when I start the video. Why? Because I want to support them.
Yes.
Nobody can see that, oh, North Star Energy Healing liked this video. You can see the number of likes, but it's not like people, I've had people tell me, well, I didn't want to like that one because you talked about politics, and I don't want YouTube to start sending
Yep.
me
Yep.
suggestions about politics. And I'm like, does it work like that? I don't know. Maybe it does, but I'm
I
like,
for sure get very political on my forecast.
just support me. If you want to
Yeah.
support me, hit the like button. You
Ignore
don't
it.
have to hit the like button because, well, I let me reword this. Like when you're doing a tarot and oracle, maybe only one part of that message resonates with you because you're doing it for a bunch of people. It's not like a one-to-one. But you can hit the like button whether or not something resonated because you're supporting the channel. Anyway, boom, that
Yes.
was my soapbox plug or whatever.
Well, I'll say one thing. That well, I guess you did one yesterday morning, right? And then the one before that was the one that really resonated with me. I mean, it was poignant. I've wanted to do pick one readings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's someone
Hmm.
on YouTube named Kate Mariah, and she does it where she'll put 3 gemstones up and you pick which gemstone you resonate with,
Yeah.
and then she'll do
So
the reading.
I have on my channel, I have made playlists. So all of the pick one are in a playlist. So if people just want to go
Oh,
look
nice.
and see and say, like one of them was a mushroom or a horse, like it's a little tiny, and some of them are sprays because I use those aura sprays and all that. But look what Wendy gave me for my birthday.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Oh, it's a journal.
Yeah, I'm gonna just so it's got two. So you can mark for a daily card, or you can for crying out loud, Lisa.
What I'll say is Wendy's the one who brought all of the cards that day, right?
Yeah.
She
So
really
then I
elevated my
can
decks.
I can write down, like if I do a reading, I write down because before I'm using like spiral notebooks where I
Yeah.
make all my notes.
Yes, okay, that's
Because
how mine look. Like I square off a check section and then I do the next one.
yeah, well, when I'm doing like if I'm doing the weekly or the monthly or whatever, I have to record all of them and then I have to start posting them because it takes time for them to upload. So I have to check, okay, this one's done. And so it's I don't edit anything. Whatever's in there is in there, but I also can pause the video if I need to do something. And I'm kind of jealous of people that can edit it and put words in there and put, a beginning screen and an end screen, all these fancy things. And my guides have told me, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
stop trying to be like someone else. Just do what you do.
and I think you kind of inspired me in that because I was having that same thing where I was like, I have to do it perfectly. It has to be this, has to be that. And then when I watch your videos, there's like the casualness that's really comforting when you're doing it.
Yeah, I liked your description. What did you say? It was like a fireside chat or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt used to do those.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that. That was such a compliment. I mean, I would, because I'm a talker, so that's how I got to know Kelsey, was on one of my YouTube videos. I said, hey, if anybody out there wants to have a Zoom chat about this stuff, I'm open to it. Let me know. And she was one that did.
yeah.
So then we've been friends ever since. We've never met in person, but we've talked on the phone. We've had numerous Zoom chats. I've done readings for her, and just because, just to talk and get to know people that are like-minded, you
Yeah,
know.
I think
So
building this community has been huge. It's been great for me. I know people almost get sick of me. I refer to just all of you guys as my mentors, and people are like, "Oh, bringing up the mentors again."
well,
But
I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't have a good grasp of astrology. I mean, I know my birth chart. I've had my birth chart forever. And you know, I, it's weird because I'm on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. And so I feel like I'm always that my personality is butting heads,
Yeah.
like
Like the
what it says
philosophical
about,
side and the analytical side.
yeah, and the adventurous side versus the homebody and and all of that. Because sometimes when I go back and read through my birth chart again, I'm like, God, that just doesn't even, I'm not even like that. That doesn't even sound like me. But, and I don't know. It's confusing to me. I've tried to understand it. I took an online webinar class about understanding your birth chart, and it exhausts me to try to figure that out. So I know that's not my modality.
It is exhausting. I get more and more comfortable with it. I've always been trying to do it. Actually, I literally brought a bunch of my books. When I was little, I got this book I found at my house, and it's from like the 70s. And it's
Hmm.
so cool. And I used to try to read it every single day. I was like a little bit too dyslexic and young to do it. But as I've gotten into it, it's as complicated as you want to make it.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, true, true. But I mean, I see as I read my birth chart, my husband's, my daughter's, my son's, those were the ones I studied.
mhm.
Um, I really understood it. Like for me, being a Sagittarius, cusp of Capricorn, Leo rising, Scorpio, Moon, and Venus, I understand, that dynamic. My husband is a Leo, Libra rising, so he doesn't act like a Leo most of the time
Yep.
because of the Libra. He's so balanced most of the time. You have to really make him mad for the Leo to come out,
Yeah.
which
Before like
fortunately I don't do, but
that's an interesting one where like the bright kind of like big energy comes from a place of like maybe pride or like self-image. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean, it's really interesting how when you study someone's birth chart, you really everything kind of jumps out,
yeah.
and stuff about their personality and their stuff. The thing that I'm really interested in, do you know who Pam Gregory is?
No, but just you mentioned I think you mentioned is that who does galactic
No, that's
astrology?
Julia Balaz, but Pam Gregory has been doing astrology. She's in the UK for, I don't know, 40 years.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of her books where she talks about um, where the planets were like in 2008 when we had the big what happened in 2008 stock
Housing
market crash or
crisis.
something. And and all that, but she also says that if you study a person's birth chart, you can tell with the planets placement, the Saturn return, Pluto return, all
Saturn
those
return's
things,
huge.
that you can tell, you can actually find out a person's birth, when they were born and what time they were born, if they don't know, based on the things that have happened in their life at specific times. I
Yeah,
mean, she is,
it's called rectifying a chart, and I'm not at that level, but I do know that the program I use has it because the astrologer that I like to follow, his name is David Brennan,
yeah,
and he works with esoteric technologies to bring the software that I use, which is not the most user-friendly software. Um,
yeah,
I've been trying to mix it in with the simplified forecasts I've been doing. And it's exciting to learn, and I had to accept that sometimes I'm gonna say something that's clumsy or wrong on my way to understanding.
yeah,
It's really helped. I think the problem though is with a lot of horoscopes, they expect for you to use a chart, like a birth chart, and what's happening in order. It's called a radix.
yeah,
So what's happening right now has a relationship to what's happening in your chart, which gives you a personalized horoscope, and that pretty easy to run through the program. I can do a word processor. And it breaks it down. But then when I'm doing the generalized ones, I really just have to look at the day. And like last
Yeah.
night, I figured out there were aspect patterns happening, and I got so excited because when I was reading my astrology books, I was like, well, how does anyone notice these grand patterns when you're plucking away at the little ones? And I was like, oh my God, wait, I found one. And then I used the book, and it was so there's a grand trine happening right now, and it hits 3 points of the wheel, and every time it hits those 3 points of the wheel, it's always going to be in the same element, which changes what it means. And we are currently experiencing a grand trine, an Earth grand trine.
Yeah.
And so it's about luck and talent and I don't know. A lot of my
Yeah.
outer planets have been kind of doomsday-y, and it was very nice to find a nice happy a nice happy aspect that was on a grand scale.
Yeah, you should definitely check out Pam Gregory's YouTube channel. I think you'd be interested. And the other one is Molly McCord. Do you know who she is?
No, I'm really bad
She's
about
another one,
Molly. What was it?
McCord, McCord. I think on there she might be called Moxie Molly, but but another one, and I'm listening to her stuff, and it goes, I can grasp a little bit of it, but like I said, astrology is not really my thing, and then the rest of it is, I'm like, oh, I don't understand what she's talking about, and so I got these two astrology workbooks and I filled it out like in pencil for myself, and it made a lot more sense. Whoever this person was that made this book, it's in the other room. When I filled that out, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, yes. All right. I get it. Versus just trying to read my,
Yeah.
15-page printout of my birth chart. Doing that
Yeah.
workbook helped,
It-
but
there's always contradictions too, and I notice some people will like notice the contradictions and just say the whole thing, just toss the whole thing. But then we are kind of living contradictions at the same time. In readings, I see a lot of people who don't relate at first until I start being like, well, if you peel back the onion,
mhm,
there is a flavor of this that's going to have to be
yeah.
related to this other thing. It's really without all the context. I notice houses a lot. And
Hmm.
one thing I've been drawn to, I don't know if I've talked to you about this, they're called Sabian symbols. I almost said sidereal, but that's the Vedic system versus
I
Pleiadius.
think I've heard of it, but I'm not completely familiar.
It's someone channeled them, and it's a book of
Hmm.
like 84 channeled little tiny things. And when I run it through my program, it will tie a Sabian symbol onto each planet, and they
Hmm.
really resonate with people. Parts of the body too. I've
Yeah.
noticed to the point where younger people, I'll point out, I'll say, is there anything that has to do with this part of the body or like this like thing? And they'll say, I don't have any health issues like that. And then I'll read for older people and they'll be like, oh yes, I had that in my 30s. I had this in my
Hmm.
40s. I'm dealing with
Yeah.
it now. And so I've gotten to a point where with younger people, I'm like, well, it might not resonate with you right now, but maybe keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Maybe know that like because it'll go into like the left ventricle of the heart or like
Hmm.
specifically parts of you. And I've had like people be like, yes, I had to have that removed, or yes, I had to get a stint there.
Yeah.
Um,
It's really amazing, those things. And some people don't know that each zodiac sign rules a certain body part. Like
yeah,
for me, it's hips,
I was gonna
for
say the same
Sagittarius.
thing.
I have big
Sagittarius.
hips, yeah. But there are those types of things. But it's just there's a lot of connection. The mind body soul connection is real. Like there are certain body parts that will give you a problem, like if your throat, you're not speaking up, you're not speaking your truth. If I think it's your knees, if you have knee problem, you're having a problem moving forward. I mean, it's really super interesting. We're so much more than just what we see,
My
I
knees are the first thing having issues, and honestly, that would check out. Moving forward has been kind of a struggle for me. I get so caught up in the past. I know,
Yeah.
one thing I ran for us was a synastry, like a relationship
Hmm.
support. And
Yep.
I kind of had to run it through. I run things through ChatGPT just to condense the text so that it's like more manageable. But I know we read through that and it's really helped us with our relationship. I think we
Hmm.
learned a lot about,
I've heard of that, but
never dove into it.
I've never done it. I mean, I've heard of that because yeah, somebody that I follow, MJ, um, she does classes on synastry. Like you can take a class and she teaches you how to figure that out. She has a lot of, they're not live classes, they're all recorded. She also does a class on passive income, and that's how you get it. You make classes and then people just sign up and they run.
Yeah. I've been
So,
thinking about
yeah,
whether I want to do that, but I feel like it's a controversial one. I mean, anytime you're commercializing any of this, it starts to be like, oh God, what's the ethics?
yeah.
What's
I
gonna be
mean,
right and wrong?
I would love to do it, but I wouldn't make it super expensive. You know, like if somebody wanted to have take a class on the meanings of the court cards, it'd be like $10. You know what I mean? Stuff
Yeah,
like that. But you know, hers are a lot more than that. I mean, that galactic astrology one, Julia Balaz, when I first came across that, and I do have my chart because I did take one of her webinars, but it was only like $35. And it tells you like your planet, like it says that my soul originated in whatever planet. Like I'm
yeah.
Lyran, um, Draco is there, you know, a lot of those things. And it's really super interesting. But again, it was really hard for me to grasp. I thought about getting certified in it because I thought this is just amazing. But the first when I first checked into it, it was like $600.
Yep, that's what I was
Now
gonna say.
it's like 1500 or something. And it's like, why is it more when you have more people taking the class?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be less? It's recorded. You're not doing any work, lady. You've
Yeah,
already recorded this.
exactly.
To
And
me, that's not having integrity.
you barely ever really get one-on-one time with them. That's the only person whose
Yeah.
classes I've really wanted to take is Alison Dubois, and that's because they're somewhat affordable and you get time with her and the other students. She makes
Yeah.
sure that you guys all have like a meeting together and work together. And I mean, at that point, it's less of like an online course and more worth, in my opinion. No
Yeah.
offense to the people who do certifications, obviously, but it's what you're getting out. It's really you don't want to put in more than you can even get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I did that, I would say, you know, take, you know, people that take these courses, then we'll have an online Zoom where we can all discuss it. Like if
Hmm.
people took different certifications and say, okay, we're going to have an online Zoom on such and such a date, and all the people that have taken this, we'll all get together, we'll chat, we'll talk, you know, and stuff like that. Like when I took my Beyond Quantum Hypnosis, that was all pre-recorded from Candace Craw. Oh God, why can't I remember her name? Anyway, Candace. And but then she did live Zooms, and there's a like a there's a what do you call one of those, like a group blog thing, I don't know what you call it, that you can be a member of, but it was like $15 a month, and there's
Yeah.
all kinds of things and there are resources. Now I was a member of that for several months, and you go in and you post like what happened when you did your practice sessions, and people give you feedback, and it was useful for a while, but then I was like, well, I don't want to pay $15 a month to just, it's all these new people doing that, and you know, I want to develop my own craft and I want to get going with this. Like I don't want to be stuck
The
in
beginner
there. But
stages.
yeah. So I guess we went ahead and talked about a lot of stuff, but I
I
was gonna
know.
say, because a lot of people ask me questions like, well, what do you mean that you heard this, or I'm hearing that, or what are how does that work?
Very risky
And
statements sometimes.
it's the hardest thing to explain. Um, and I think the reason why I understand it more is because I've had hypnosis sessions, and I know that when you're under hypnosis, you're either visualizing something or feeling it.
Hmm.
It's not like a person is right here in your ear, like saying something. It's more like it is a feeling, but you hear it in your own voice. Like people think, oh, is it like some of those movies have, this is God and I'm telling you, but it's not like
Yes,
that.
like a loudspeaker. I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like that, but that's what intuition is. It comes in as your thought,
Mhm.
but so
It
hard to
has to be
explain. I've tried
translated.
to explain this many, many times because of all the questions I get. And it's like I feel things in my body that tell me if I'm on the right track. Sometimes my third eye will tingle. Sometimes I'll get like goosebumps.
Shiver down
Um,
your spine.
it's just, okay, that, yeah, that's right. But to go back to, how did all this start? Because I mean, it's kind of, I'll run through it quickly and then I can touch on some that were more important. But when I was 8, I was in my bedroom at home and I was looking out the window and I saw what I would say is a UFO in the sky. And it was like 3 golden rings with lights in between the rings going around. And I don't know if anything happened because of that, but I just remember that and I've never forgotten it, as if it's something important that
Like
maybe
affirmed.
at some point I need to know.
Yeah,
And
like you
then,
need to do like regressive hypnosis on that, right? A lot of people don't know if they've had experiences until they break through that barrier.
right. Yeah. And that hasn't come up but I'm getting ready to have another past life regression session with another person I met through this, Tanner. He has a tarot and hypnosis channel. He does a lot of psychic fairs. I've already done one hypnosis session with him, which was very successful. And Tanner is a guy who has studied for 6 years. He has a whole
Nice.
bookcase full of hypnosis books. He has been certified, I think, in 3 different types of hypnosis.
That's
And he's a great guy. But anyway, so I had that. And then years later, when I was about 20, I found this book, the first one called The Education of Oversoul 7. And that book, although I didn't fully understand it back then, I reread it when a couple of years ago and I was like, wow, okay, now I understand this. Um, was about your soul and the different lives. Let's just say I can't get it. It's too complicated to explain, but
hmm
read that book, it kind
Yeah.
of put it away, didn't think about it a lot. I had a super connection with a friend of mine named Bobby where I could like call him to me. This is before cell phones.
hmm
I would just be like, oh, Bobby, I'm so bored. Can you just come over? I don't care if you're driving the wrecker tonight. I'll go with you. Boom, he would be there. It's weird. Or I thought it was weird.
That's
Not
beautiful
now, but
though.
and then a few years after that, we're talking about when I was in my 20s. A friend and I were driving to Portland to meet some guys, go figure, in a snowstorm. And I'm driving down the freeway and I see an accident in front of us. And I'm like, oh shit. Uh, we're gonna be a car accident. And then I was on the other side of it. In the rearview mirror was the accident, but we were on the other side in the car still
Oh, did you
unharmed.
actually have a
And
crash
I
or did you
said, I
like
looked at Jody, I said, no, it wasn't my time. I don't know what the deal was, but I looked over and I said, did that just happen? And she said, yeah, let's go home. So we went home. And even years later, I will bring it up to her because we're still friends. We've been friends for 40 years. And I'll say, remember that time? She goes, yes, Lisa, I remember the time. And yes, it did happen. We were,
Yeah. It's so good to
yes,
have people you can tap into reality with on things like that. When I
yeah.
was in high school, two of my friends and I swear to God to this day, made a Ouija board work, lifted our hands up off of it, tears streaming down our face, all of our grandparents coming through, not so much mine. I got one message out of it and it was live, which I think is the classic thing when you're like going into spiritual work, right? And you're a teenager, they're like, dude, we're not working with you yet. go out, party, live your life, get
Yeah.
experience, and you can't do it until
Yeah.
then. But I was so serious back then. I think I brought the Ouija board, but I still, to this day, will check in with my friends and I'll be like, that that was real, right? Like we were all had, I don't know, none
Yeah.
of us could have been faking it because it was moving after each of us. We didn't say anything about it. We just each kind of gave each other a look and took turns lifting our hands. And
Yeah.
so it was never one person had their hand on it the whole time.
Yeah. I had a Ouija board too. And when I was in sixth grade, that's what I wanted for my birthday. My parents got it for me.
Yes, it was a
And
Christmas present for me.
it was, yeah, I found out well, they told me that I was going to marry somebody named Michael Anthony, which I did. Um,
Wow.
when years later, I mean, how old was I? 23, I think. That marriage didn't last long. He was in the Navy. He was shipped to New Zealand and had an affair, so that ended. But anyway, it did come true. And my connection to African Americans, slavery, all kinds of things came through. And then I don't remember what happened, but something happened that scared me, and my parents threw it away. They're like, okay, that's going
Oh
to the
yeah.
dump. You're not using that anymore. So
I
they, got rid of it. But that I forgot about that. So
yeah.
yeah, I had that. That person, Michael Anthony, that I married was from California. That's how I ended up in California for 7 years. So we were out there, and he was at a 3 month training, like in another town. And one night I was laying in bed and I was woken up and I heard, pray for Mike right now, pray for Mike right now, over and over. So I did. The next day, I got a phone call. This is before cell phones.
Hmm.
Got a phone call that he had been in a car accident. He and another guy hit a tractor trailer truck, which cut the roof of the car off. But he survived unharmed. So explanation for that. I was still dumbfounded. When I got that phone call, I was like, what in the hell happened? How did that happen? Who told me that? How did I, and so, but then of course you go on, you live, whatever.
Yeah, you
The
really
next thing that, oh, go ahead.
well you really never know like if it's real until you get that validation, right? And then you have to go off of your instinct and like check on people and stuff like that and be like, I don't know why I'm checking on you, but
Yeah.
you
I
good?
mean, it was crazy. And then I went to this. Now, when I was in California, I went to this thing called a revival. I don't know if it's like a tent, and so at
Yeah.
this there was like this woman she was called the Prophet Rita. So we're sitting all in wooden chairs in this tent, and they would call people up if they had a message for them,
Mhm.
right? So this was at that same time. So that I get called up, so I'm walking up, and my friend, I can see her, but I can't remember her name. Elaine was walked up there with me. So this woman, she says stuff like speaking in tongues or light language or whatever you want to call it. And she
Yeah.
touches my forehead and I pass right out, like I fall right backwards. And I'm filled with this beautiful, peaceful, just happy sensation type thing. And somebody had to actually walk me back to the chair because I was weak with happiness, I would say. And I was like, what the heck was that? Like so many things. This is
Like
why I
in
say it's been a long journey to get to where I am.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, it seems like on your journey, that's how you picked up each little thing along the way because it's such like it's you have a robust practice.
I
And
just think that all those little things that happened were maybe preparing me for being super connected like I am now.
mhm.
So the next thing that happened, well, when I was before I went to California and I was young and free, I was very psychic, I would say. Like I
Mhm.
could tell if somebody was going to call me on the phone. Like I said, I could call my friend in. I worked at McDonald's for a while, and I would see somebody walk through the door and be like, oh, he's going to order a fish fillet, a chocolate shake, blah, blah. And, and I would just be saying to myself, why do you know this?
Yep.
Like, why is this happening? You
Customer
know,
service customer service is a weirdly clear time when you're channeling. You know what I mean? I found at least it was the moments where like yeah, where you can almost read your customer's mind because you're seeing them over and
yeah,
over and over and you're having these interactions.
yeah. But I think that because back then in my 20s, I just lived day to day. I
Yep.
didn't worry about stuff. I didn't have any credit cards. I rented a room for so much per week. I did, I just, so I think I was way more open to the channel of being connected. But then
Yeah.
when we get busy lives and we don't pay attention to that as much because we're list makers and we're doers, we're human doings instead of human beings, it's harder to connect when we get such a busy life. And so I kind of, then I moved to California and these other things happened. I came back to Maine. I don't remember a lot of the stuff in between, but my cousin Carrie, who's more like a sister to me, her mom was always kind of mystical.
Yep.
Like my mother was like, oh, Mary Ann, oh. And both of them have passed away now. But I was intrigued by it. And she could read your cards with a regular deck of cards.
Yep.
Like she knew what I'm sure you've heard of that. Like you
I
could
think
take a
that's
regular deck of playing cards and each card means one of the tarot cards or something. Um, so she was doing that one night because her Carrie was like, oh, come on, mom, just read our cards. Come on, And so she did. And then she's like, oh, okay, now that we're done with that, I need to get my holy water out and bless everybody to make sure. So she got her holy water out it was from Lourdes, the holy place. Do you know about that? Okay.
no, what it
Lourdes. It's a place where there's holy water. I don't remember where it is, France, Spain, somewhere.
oh, in my
Um,
head it was a department store. I was like, what did she get it from like a Lowe's? You know?
no, so it was blessed by a priest or a bishop, who knows. So anyway, she gets that out and she puts some on her finger and she touches my third eye, and my entire body was tingling like it was on fire. And I was like,
I
wow,
wonder and this
what
was
happened?
before the you said it was a revival with the tent? Was that what they called it? When
Well, I'm
she
sorry, say that again.
what did you call it when she touched your third eye at the woman who spoke in tongues?
Oh, the Rita, the prophet Rita.
Yeah. Do you think that that almost was like a like she reactivated that moment from your childhood?
I
Because
don't know.
it
I
seems like
I
the third eye is a recurring theme for you when there's like a burst of energy.
Yes, and that would happen to me. My third eye tingling happens to me also when I'm in uh not in trouble, but during my divorce from my son's father, it was very stressful.
Hmm.
And I would sometimes randomly, that third eye would just start tingling like crazy. And I don't know if it was a reminder that you're okay. We're here. You're going to be all right. But it would happen, at random times then. So I don't know why that happened those two times, but it was
Yeah.
like, wow, So
Well, it's
I
a
think,
it's a
go ahead.
physical part of your body, right? Like it is actually like an organ in your brain. And
Your
anytime
pineal gland, right?
yeah,
Your
and anytime you start using a muscle or a part of your body, there's strain. I wonder if it was like your awakening was kind of like mixing with the stress hormones and you
yeah.
were having to use it more.
I don't know, but I just think all of it was a slow preparation. Because let's just say that none of these things happened to me, and then all of a sudden I pick up a tarot deck, and it would be too much to take. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't, because I wouldn't have understood what was happening.
I had that a few times. I had like awakenings, I think too young. At like 17, 18, 23, I would just push too hard and I wasn't ready. I didn't have the context for life. I didn't have the
Yeah.
I didn't have the patience or like the steadiness to be able to figure out what was happening, and it would get overwhelming. It would be too much, and I had school to worry about, very human things. It's like you were saying,
Yeah,
sometimes we're human doing and sometimes we're human being.
exactly. So
Yeah.
all of that, happened. And in the meantime, then I moved to Tennessee and I started listening to Louise Hay, Abraham Hicks, Alba Weinman's hypnosis channel, Antonio Sangio's hypnosis channel, and just listen to hours and hours and hours of spiritual stuff. And and then fast forward, I moved back to Maine again. So
Yeah.
I've lived in a few different places. And then when I moved back to Maine, that was when I started getting more interested in this stuff and then bought the decks and then eventually ended up with that deck. But to get to where I am now, I read for myself for over
Yep.
6 months and kept a journal. After I read that book, I studied it, I felt it, I understood what it felt like when I was on the right track, or what
Yeah.
the feelings, the gut intuition, the what my body would do when I was saying the right thing.
Being able to translate things too, right? Like you
Yeah,
get those messages and feelings, you have to put them into your own words, and then to be
yeah,
able to verbally say them again is this process that it's like you're translating. It's like you're translating, but in a way that's almost risky, right? You say the wrong thing to the
hmm,
wrong person and suddenly you're woo, woo. But you're
right.
really just trying to convey like a very genuine feeling to people. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So then, I listened to somebody on YouTube. I forget what is her Soulful Revolution. And she said one day in one of her readings, because she does a tarot certification class, and she said, I've, you know, I've certified all these people and they're afraid to go out there and do anything with it. And she said, the message I have for all of you or anyone is you've got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
just do it. She said, look back to my videos 5 years ago. They're nothing like they are now, but I had to start. And so
Yep.
that's what convinced me to, okay, why not? I'll just go ahead. I'll make a YouTube channel and I'll just start doing this.
And
So I
what's
started
wild
out,
is that's like the
just my friends are
inspiration.
subscribed, 13 subscribers. And I think now I have like 412. Well, that's not huge, but
It's
you
great.
start somewhere, right? It's been about a year and a couple months.
And I
And
think
so it's
the internet
it
right
might
now
get
is
better.
the internet right now is flooded with fake people. I
Oh, that's a big problem.
I mean,
Yeah.
my Instagram, I have nothing but these messages from people who are like, "Oh, send us your post or
Oh,
whatever." And I'm like, I don't want to pay to be seen, and it feels like everybody else is paying to be seen to the point where you can't get seen anymore.
right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
going
it
online.
is a problem. And YouTube's algorithm is such that they will push out those channels that have more subscribers that pump videos out constantly. Now, I have a regular job, plus we have a side business for carpentry that I manage, and I have the house and the bills and all these other things that I
Yeah.
do. I can't sit there and put out three, four, five, six videos a day. And those are the ones that get pushed out more.
Who even
So
has the energy for it too, you know? I
yeah,
think a lot of
it's
them
hard.
probably pre-record and cut up or things like that. But even that, editing takes a long time. I mean, you must know putting up a
I don't do
10-minute
it.
video on YouTube is like a 45-minute process.
Well, I just record it and then I put it out, but I have to check off these boxes and put in hashtags and do all these things, make a description,
That's the
and
worst part.
then post publish. But then it says, okay, it's going to take 34 minutes to finish uploading. Then it's going to take 1 hour to finish processing, which is why it's hard to do. Like when I started trying to do weekly readings, 12 videos, I'd have to keep putting an alarm on my phone, go check, is that one done? The next one, can so it's, there is a lot of work that goes into it. But people like to see those individual zodiac sign readings. That's just
Yeah.
what people like. And you have to have some way of having some sort of buzzword to get people, oh, I want to watch that, which I hate doing. I really don't do it. I just say,
Yes,
this
it
is your
feels
2 week thing.
fake.
because my guides have told me before when I would get discouraged, like I would do a video that I thought was, wow, this is so important. People need to hear this. And it would get 6 views and 0 likes. And I'm like, oh my God, that was so much work. And I put so much into it. And it's so important. It's good information. My guides would always be like, whoever is meant to see it will see it. You don't worry. You do what we tell you to do or give you to do. You put it out there and don't worry about it anymore. Don't think about it. It's out there. And the person who's meant to see it is going to see it. Don't worry.
Whether it's 10 years from now or 2 days from now, yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
exactly how it is. And I'll say again, that last choose one, so poignant for me. It was really seriously, I I watched both of them, but I knew immediately that it was the home one. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm away from home. Home is stressing me out. Why would I choose home? Then one by one by one, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
wow, those are all coming up. I think I got this. There's no way you're going to be able to see. It's the Six of Wands and it's a little
Oh,
ring. And it's so funny. I kind of ignored the angel
victory.
cards. Yes, yes. And I think that was one of the cards that you pulled that I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna resonate with something, let's go home victorious. Um,
Yeah.
and it's really
Yeah.
funny. I drew tarot cards. They had a selection of these rings. It went one day and I said, I think I have to draw on it. You know what I mean? I'm sure the cards will show me. They only had a few different cards, and sure enough, I shuffled it up and I literally said out loud, I was like, I know that you're gonna tell me it's a bad financial choice. I know I'm gonna get an upside down pentacle of some kind. Just tell me which ring would be best first. And sure,
Yeah.
I drew the Ace of Wands, which was one of them. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. You really did it. I had no doubt tarot cards are eerie like that. But
Yeah.
classic me, I was like, wow, thanks. I'm gonna ignore that and get a different one. It's like, yeah, Ace of Wands, thank you. I appreciate the Ace of Wands. I'm going home victorious though. We're going home with a victory
That's
under our
funny.
belt.
Yeah. The card that I associate with me is the Knight of Pentacles. That's always been my card. And I picked that a long, long time ago when I had a reading with a tarot reader. She said, she put her cards all out like that. And she said, which card are you most drawn to? And it was that card. And it makes so much sense now because I have been slow and steadily progressing towards where I'm going. And that's the Knight of Pentacles. You
You
know,
also
he's
are your own
slow and
leader.
steady.
You
Yeah.
you lead your own little army, whether your army is yourself or well, I guess you're like you're a family woman who's got a lot going on at work too.
Mm,
Because I know that when you work your normal person job,
yeah.
you sound like you're really on top of it and you know what you're talking about. I mean, and with like anything going on with I don't want to get too much into his business, but with Jeff and anything going on with him,
Mhm.
you are on top of it. You are really a knight. I love that
Yeah.
for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
Joan of Arc is one of my favorite historical people. I've always been drawn to her since I was little. I don't know why. I just love her story, how brave she was to
that's
do
another
what she
thing we have
did.
in common too. I mean, that I draw on her energy all the time. Seriously, especially
Nice.
if you're ever dealing with persecution, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there are people who will be
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't hear anything, you're not translating anything, but you have to go into, again, the night, you have to go into battle kind of for yourself. You have to be like,
Do
no,
you
I
see that?
really believe.
Do you see that rainbow on the wall behind you?
No, but did you see the red
Look.
orb that was behind you? You had a
No.
you had a fleck of light floating by you. Was there really? I
Yeah,
love
there's a
that.
rainbow on the wall behind you. I can see it right now.
Oh, I don't see it, but I love
On
that.
one side of that picture, well, you'll see when you go back and yes, right there where your hand was. Did you see
Ah,
it?
no, I just guessed. I love that.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've seen orbs and I got a book on orbs after because I was like, what in the heck was that? But when I was how did I get that information? It might have been in my hypnosis session. That was one of the things I wanted to know. Why did I see that orb? at the farm because we have pictures where Jeff and I met as a horse rescue farm, and that place Oracle, it's in Bath, Maine, and we would take pictures there, and there'd be orbs all over the pictures.
Yeah.
And one day I was cleaning a stall because that's one of the things I did, taking care of the horses, and there was an orb like over here. But
Yep.
if I would try to turn and look at it directly, it would move back. I could only see
Oh,
it in my peripheral.
like you saw it with your physical eyes, though.
Yes, yes. And I could see it and it would stay just there. And it looked like a fairy inside of a bubble. I could see
Yeah.
like wing. It was just crazy. And so I asked in a reading or I don't know, some psychic or medium I went to, what was that experience? And they said it was just for fun. It was just to show you the another realm. It was to show you that that is real. I
Which
was
is
like,
very
oh,
fairy. Which is very fairy. Yeah.
yeah,
What color
yeah.
was it?
White.
White.
I
Interesting.
couldn't see, it just looked like a white bubble. Well, a clear bubble, but inside was just white. I'm trying to remember, but it wasn't. That's why I kept trying to turn and look, and then I stopped what I was doing, and I just leaned against the wall and waited and enjoyed the moment for
Yeah.
however many minutes that was there. I didn't want to break the feeling. I just wanted to stay in that feeling of wonder and just I felt blessed and grateful that that was happening.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
with
So,
with them, I was always really skeptical about them. And the one I noticed with you was just kind of I wasn't sure if it was a red paint chip or what, but it is gone now, so it must have. But
hmm.
with me, it's green orbs in photographs.
Oh,
Always
okay.
kind of following me around, and it's other people's cameras too. They'll
Mm,
always on the beach. Oh, usually in nature, right? The
yeah.
beach. I have some at the lake where it's literally like it's I'm being followed. I have a cousin who
Wow.
lost pretty recently. It's still a rough one to talk about, but she lost basically her fiance. And we all went out um like one of the first nights after, and right in between us there's like six pictures that like are me saying something funny to her and then her laughing, but right in between us is this green orb, and it was this moment of like, ugh, almost tearing up.
Wow.
It was this moment of
Yeah.
like, you go out to celebrate somebody's life and they're there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
there's no way to know what any of that stuff is really realistically, but I love being able to think about it. I love being able to feel like there is something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing that I talk about a lot on my channel is don't dismiss this. Too many people walk through life, dead to all this stuff. Like they don't notice it or take the time to think about it. So many things happen, um,
And if you
that
write them off
where
one at
the
a
other side
time,
is, yeah, they're trying to connect with us. Like one, I was born on my father's birthday. My father has been crossed over for a long, long time. Every year on my birthday, our birthday, his and mine, he will show himself to me well, his first name was Lloyd. That is not a common name.
mm-mm.
He lived in Canterbury, Connecticut. Every year, I will see something on my birthday that lets me know that he's there. This year, I was driving to work, and in front of me was a license plate, and the plate holder said Lloyd's.
Love, yeah.
And, so I'm like, hi, Daddy. Like, I knew that it was him. And another time there was a van that said Canterbury Plumbing. I'm like,
Oh
I've never
yeah.
even heard of that. But, and people don't take the time to connect with that stuff. Like, your
Yeah.
guides, your ancestors, the ones that you love that have crossed over are always trying to communicate, but we dismiss that stuff and don't, we just walk through life asleep, so to
Yeah.
speak,
And it's
you
so
know?
easy there's like a balance you have to strike, right? Between like, not everything is a sign, but you
Yeah.
know when it is. I know there
Yeah.
was one of those meetings we had, I just broke down crying because I started trusting you guys, and I was like, this is a hard thing to start to learn to do. I was was having a hard time figuring out some feelings I was having about a friend who might still be in danger. I have no idea. Nobody
I
can
remember.
contact her. But when I was walking through the street, I literally there was I think it was like a bumper sticker that fell off someone's car, and it was just like lead with your heart because I just was using my head way too much to try to do something that is really a soul practice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And
Oh my
it's
God, it's so I'm
it's
trying to
you do
stay. I
this
don't know
and
why it's so dark in here. The lights are on. It's got to be the sun causing it to do that. See if I cover that up, I can.
yeah, you get bright again.
Um, I hate blocking the sun.
Well,
Oh,
you
see,
need
that didn't work. Now look, now you can't even see me. Okay, I give up. I don't know.
yeah, it's a tough one. If I didn't have this ring light, I wouldn't be able to, and it's a little clip-on one that I just bring everywhere with me. Oh,
I have one, but it doesn't rotate where I need it to rotate
yep.
because I tried moving it before.
Mine, if it
It's a
wasn't this like little kind of phone clip one, I would have the worst time with it. There's one at my residency that I try to use all the time, and I broke it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just
But-
doesn't do anything unless I hold it right in front of my face. Let me see.
Oh,
It's so
nice.
crazy, right?
Wait,
Should
that
be
actually
should be more
works.
prepared. Oh, there we go. That's a little better.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I said, yeah, I told you all the stuff that kind of led to me doing this. And it's a work in progress. And one of my main reasons for doing my YouTube channel and doing these readings for everybody is because I don't want people to take 40 years to listen to their intuition like
Yep.
I did. Like I'm sure I had to go through everything I went through to be the person I am today. I don't discount anything I've ever been through, no matter how painful or how challenging, because it made me who I am and it made me a very understanding
Mhm.
person of other people's situations and things like that.
Yeah.
But had I known to listen to my gut intuition, 30 years ago, I could have saved myself some of that pain. But I
Yeah.
feel like I went through it because I'm supposed to help other people
Gonna say.
learn sooner to listen to their gut instincts, to pay attention to those red flag feelings that they have.
I like that as, yeah, I like that as something to point out because a lot of mediumistic or readers, whatever you want to call us, go through harder times when we're younger, right? A lot of us understand what it is to be hurt, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, to like
Yeah.
need and want and not get.
Hmm.
And when people come for a reading, that's what they are feeling hurt or they're feeling like
Yeah.
a lack of ability to take care of themselves. So having that empathetic ability, yeah, that makes sense. And it's not to say that like going through hard times is good, but it does make you grow for sure.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I really think that I went through all of that for a specific reason. And when I had my introspective hypnosis session with Antonio Sangio, that was in person in North Carolina. I had a friend who lived 30 minutes away from him, and I was like, oh my God, I want to go have a session. So in that session, he asks my higher self, why did Lisa pick such a hard life this time, around? Why
Oh,
had
like to come
and
into, right?
yeah, when we're in the in between and our soul, we're making the agreement, we're going to go to Earth and do this, and these are going to be our lessons, and da 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 da. Um, my higher self said, because her soul has grown exponentially in this life, more so than it would if she lived 10 lives. So
Oh, I love
I
that.
was like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
I think that all the time too.
mhm. Yeah,
Um,
what?
oh, Zoom is asking Mason's laptop about permission to screen record. So hopefully we've been screen recording that whole time.
That's weird. I know mine is recording, so
Oh,
because I just
good.
looked. So, but
I wonder that sometimes I am like, if we do choose to come in this way, I don't know why I had to choose such a hard one. Other than, right, I mean, especially being trans, I'm like, well, if I got to pick, I picked wrong. Unless I have to have this experience to be able to help because we're going through such a hard time and it's such a
yeah.
formative time and I think as a
Hmm.
culture or a lot of like spiritual people will say like as a culture we're shifting from a male to a female culture and like maybe that's part of
Yeah.
understanding but you really don't get to know, you know. It's
Yeah. I mean, from everything that I've watched, all the hypnosis sessions I've watched, which are thousands, I mean, people have lives as, and I know that some people are going to hear this and be like, that's crazy. People have lives as trees,
yes, I always say
fish, um, but
trees
you
are
have,
probably
what's
nirvana,
that?
right? I always, sorry, I cut you off. I always say like a lifetime as a tree is nirvana. I mean, it's the most peaceful life you could live
I don't know.
until we decided to destroy the environment. But theoretically, it would be
Well,
a great
yeah,
lifetime to have
but
like 200 years of just growing.
yeah, and wisdom, but we all have to live equal amounts of male and female lives because to be in balance. But sometimes you'll have, I don't know if we talked about this once before, like sometimes you'll have three feminine lives in a row, and then you go to have a male life, and a lot of that is carrying, a lot of that feminine energy is still carrying over to into the next life where you're a man, or vice versa. You know, you may have
So
three or four
interesting.
male lives in a row, and then you're going to have a female life. Like me, when I was younger, I was totally into auto mechanics, GI Joes, all these different things. All my friends were boys. I was very, you know, I was a lot more masculine. I hate the color pink. You'll rarely ever see me wear it. I think I have one shirt that's like magenta, but it's even hard for me to wear that. Um,
Yeah.
and I think probably because I either had a very, very butchy masculine life before this one, and so some of that was resonating as I was young and coming in.
Or
Um,
preparing you for the next one even. Because they say sometimes like your past and future lives are reflected in your childhood. So you never, yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's so interesting to think about, but it's also like in today's climate, it's almost like blasphemous to say, you know what I mean, on my end or the other end or whatever end. But there is
yeah.
like a fluidity in our souls, and
Hmm.
there's just different expressions, and they don't have to be one end or the other. And it's maybe that's the soul lesson for some of us this time around.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean,
it's
we
really
we
interesting.
only we only have to pick male, female, masculine, feminine when we're on earth. Like
Yeah.
our essence is not male or female. Our soul, our
Mhm.
essence is not. We're just experiencing duality here on this earth school. And
Yeah.
so we don't, when we're not here, we're not a man or a woman or a girl or a
Yeah,
boy, you
exactly.
know.
And then if it's like you were saying, lifetimes as other beings, other animals. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a lifetime as a E. coli bacteria. That's gonna be very
Yeah.
ungendered. Um,
I have listened to recently, I listened to a hypnosis session where the woman was she was in the angelic realm, like her essence was out in the stars and the universe, and she was bored, and God said, okay, I'll give you source, God, whoever, I say God, but whoever the source is, said, okay, well, I'll give you a chance. If you don't want this life, you can jump down through this hole and be in a different life, but it's up to you. You're only going to have one chance to change from what you're doing. So she did. And remember, she's under hypnosis, and she's talking about this as she was under hypnosis. And she jumped through, and she was a rock. And then she realized how much more wonderful it was to be up as a star, or in essence in the so anyway,
yeah,
she had to, And so the person who had her under hypnosis was saying, well, how did that life as a rock end? And so I can't remember what was said. And then she was a tree,
Yeah.
and then she said, oh, this is so much better because I'm up here in the wind and my roots are connected to all the other trees and
And the
but
biomes, right? Like the things
I
that would
just
be
find
living with and around you.
those sessions are wild. And sometimes, you know, our ego mind has a hard time listening to that and believing it. Like we want to say, oh my God, that's so stupid. That's so dumb. How could that
It's
be? But
a
there's
defense
so much
mechanism for
we don't know.
sure to not even
Yeah.
consider any of it. But yeah,
And the thing is, why would a person be under hypnosis and then make up a story that they were a rock? I mean, does that make sense? Why would they make that up?
yeah, it
You
wouldn't.
know?
Yeah, some things just don't make sense as something someone would just, and that's the hard part with like I run into with astrology a lot. Like I keep posting the actual materials that I'm using, and it's kind of a waste of my time to just like keep contextualizing it. But it is so hard for me to really make sure other people know that there's no BSing.
Yeah.
Right. And it that has to do with people who have done it in the past, but it also just has to do with skeptical people who, as a defense mechanism, shut it all out.
Yeah.
Those aren't even the
And
people that we really need to work with because they don't need to work with us.
yeah,
But I end up
exactly.
carrying
But that
on.
is hard. I've been lucky probably because my channel is still so small that I've really only had one person get on there and say that I was evil. No, I've had two. The first person said
Wild.
all kinds of, and I deleted that comment because I was like, oh my God. And then the second person said something about I'll pray for you, blah, 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 blah. And then I just hearted it and said, thank you so much. I appreciate it,
Yes.
because it's like, okay, hey, I'll take prayers. Prayer is
It's
good.
it's so wild to think about so many people on that spectrum will look at us and say like you need to find God and it's like well honey that's what I do every day.
Yeah.
That's yes that's
Yeah.
been my life's journey literally.
And people want to forget that in the Bible are stories of prophets.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, all throughout the Bible, it talks about prophets and, people. So why? I don't know. It's organized religion are the ones who made us think that, that's an evil thing.
Yeah.
I
When King
mean,
James rewrote that Bible, he really did a number on Christianity.
yeah, exactly. And people also don't realize that the Bible has been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and things have been left out, especially things about women.
Yep.
Whole chapters have been taken out when
I
that King
can
James.
send you a video, but it was I just saw it last night. It was a girl who went through and she rectified basically each one. She was like, "Well, this was a female figure written out. This was a
Mhm,
time God wasn't referred to as a man. This was
yeah,
a disciple whose books were pushed away because she was a woman." It was a really good one. Do you know the channel Esoterica on YouTube?
I don't think so. Esoterica.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal one. He is a master he has his doctorate in religion, I believe.
Okay.
Might be specifically Jewish studies, but he goes back and he will trace these literal physical copies of these books and he'll say, well,
Wow.
this was in Egyptian and then it was translated to Hebrew and then they had notes on the side. Are the window people here? Oh, okay. Sorry. I think we got into such a deep
That's
hole that
okay.
Mason got overwhelmed and walked away. And we just have to make sure that we are here for we're sitting in an Airbnb for anyone who doesn't know, in Canada, and our window's broken. And so someone's coming to fix it between 11 and 2. So probably pretty soon. But this has been a great conversation.
Okay. Oh yeah. And I mean the Bible thing, I've read three different Bibles. So I've read the Bible four times, although I will admit I only read Revelation once because that was all I needed to read that.
Ah,
But I've read, three different Bibles. One was the Women's Devotional Bible, one was the King James, one was the Max Lucado, something or other. And very interesting and informative and this and that. My son went to Catholic school till he was in fourth grade, and so there's not just like you can, if you're a tarot reader or a Reiki healer, then you can't have religion. And there's not like if you're a Catholic, you
Yeah.
can't believe in Reiki healing. And, there's all of it can be encompassed in your spirituality. That's
Well,
the thing.
without Judeo-Christian symbolism, we wouldn't have tarot cards.
Yeah, true.
Every single card, there was the four apostles are on a card. I mean, yes, there is a devil card, but the devil card is about breaking bondage and breaking addiction and getting away from those things, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you can't even have the devil card without having the lovers card, which has the
Hmm.
Archangel Gabriel. There's
Yep.
a lot of you can't know the tarot cards without knowing your basic Bible study. Um,
Yeah.
I really loved art
And
history when I was in art school, and that's really where I got all my Bible lessons was from old paintings and art
oh yeah.
history.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And there is somebody who created a deck called the Biblical Tarot. It's really nice.
Yeah,
I've often thought about getting that, but I have so many decks. I don't have any more
they build
place
up. They
to
build
put them.
up. I,
But yeah,
like
we
I
should
was saying
probably,
earlier,
oh, go ahead.
the decks Wendy gave me are really the only decks that I have that are different, and it's Biddy Tarot, Bridget Esselmont, my favorite person. These are my online cards, I call them, because they're so simplified that they're really legible on camera. And this is the only Oracle deck I have, the embroidered
Yeah.
graveyard one. Oh, oh, I love it. And you kind of
Yeah.
inspired the way that I use it because it's like I use it as a fusion.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I've just never been good at memorizing spreads, which is fine. This is another thing before we wrap up. I want to say that, every reader's connection is their own.
Hmm.
So if somebody reads freestyle and somebody reads in another type of format, like the 5 card spread or the Celtic cross or whatever, that's okay because
Yeah.
we all have our own connection and our own way of doing things.
Hmm.
And some people are just like, oh, well, I don't want to watch that person because they do it this way or that way. No, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's,
That's a pattern you need
it's
to break
about,
out of.
yeah,
I've had to
it's
break out of that for
everybody's,
sure.
and I have done different spreads that are a specific format, and I like doing that. It's just for me, the way that it came in was just more of a freestyle thing,
Yeah.
but I also watch people that have specific spreads. I like it. I like the organization of it. It's not a gift that I have. This is not what my guides have given me or how they want me to do it. But I enjoy watching other people and how they remember the different, like there are some people that they have 5 cards in a row and then they have cards underneath those. And then there's the crosses and then there's all these
Yeah.
things. I just don't have the gift of being able to understand reading that way,
Yeah,
but
I
I
have to
like
look up
watching it.
most spreads when I do them. I know
Yeah.
a couple basic threes and I know my 10, but that's yeah, otherwise I like to
Yeah.
freeform. What I've been doing is these oracle cards, I'll lay down three and then I'll do three clarifying normal
Yeah.
tarot because I get more of a message from those ones. Uh,
Yep. Love
yeah,
it.
but everybody's
Well,
different.
we're going to
I,
have to do this again sometime.
yes, absolutely.
There's so many topics that we could talk about, obviously.
Yeah.
And, if we decide that if you decide that you want to do a specific topic, then put out to your viewers, they can maybe submit some questions
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that sounds
about that
great.
topic. And then when we do, if you want to, I mean, whenever you have a chance, I don't know who you have on, different guests. Um, but I should ask Tanner if he wants to be a guest. The
Oh,
one who's
yeah.
studied hypnosis for 6 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you know anyone who's interested, I want to know so much about everybody. Everybody is so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will definitely ask him. So when you get ready to say goodbye, we can stop the recording, but then stay on for a minute so we can
That sounds
say
perfect.
goodbye to each other, but not
Yes, no, that sounds perfect. Just
so.
to close out, where can people find you? Like, do you have a
My
website?
YouTube channel is North Star Energy Healing. And I have a Facebook that's North Star Energy Healing. On Instagram, I'm also North Star Energy Healing. So
You got to keep it consistent.
anywhere you can find me, that. And I do readings over Zoom. So if you want a reading, on my YouTube channel, it says just email me and we'll set that up. I don't yet have a website that you can just go and click and
Yep.
schedule it, because I still work outside the home and have so much to do. But I will accommodate whatever anybody needs. And thank you for having me on. It's been so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for, I mean, anytime we talk, it's just literally like a river flowing. Mason is saying goodbye, but also nodding in agreement that he kind of got lost in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good. I think we talked about some interesting things, so hopefully others will find it interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely. And informative. I think a lot of people have questions about these things, but think we're intimidating for some reason. Meanwhile, least intimidating people I know.